Hello students, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 12th June 2024. Today, again, we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your exam. Our first topic is an important topic of polity, that is Uniform Civil Code, and we'll try to look into various aspects of this topic. Then, in our next topic, we'll try to look into various opportunities and challenges that India have with respect to G7 grouping. Then, after that, we'll try to look into an ambitious project of Government of India, that is doubling farmers' income. Then, we'll try to look into some basic details about national litigation policy, which has been in news recently. After that, we'll try to look into some basic details about European Parliament, the elections of which have recently concluded. Then, at the end, we will look into some prelims snippets, which will help in excelling your prelims exam. So, stay tuned. So, our first topic is Uniform Civil Code. The context of this topic is that recently Union Law Minister have said that the implementation of Uniform Civil Code is part of government agenda and government is very serious about the implementation of Uniform Civil Code. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC Prelims Indian Polity and syllabus of your GS2 Fundamental Rights and Directive Principles of State Policy. Let's try to understand some basics of this Uniform Civil Code. What does Uniform Civil Code means? It means that code or that law that applies to all sections of society irrespective of their religion, and those people belonging to every religion should be treated equally, and they are treated equally in matters of what? In matters of marriage, in matters of divorce, in matters of maintenance, inheritance, adoption or succession of property. At this point of time, there are some religion like Muslim religion where there are some personal laws for a specific religion. That personal laws governs the matter related to the marriage, divorce, maintenance, inheritance, adoption for that particular religion. So, there is no uniformity as such for the different areas like marriage, divorce, adoption for different religions. So, that creates lot of issues. But this particular premise, Uniform Civil Code, is based on the notion that there is no connection between religion and law in modern civilization. What does it mean? Some of the personal laws of some of the religions like Muslim personal law are based on some of the religious texts. They are deriving their inspiration from some of the religious texts. So, the Uniform Civil Code says that there should not be any basis or any relation between religion and law as such. Rather, those personal laws should be based on the rationality. Okay. So, that's why there is need for Uniform Civil Code and people advocate for Uniform Civil Code. Let's try to understand a brief timeline of the Uniform Civil Code in India. In 1947, during the debates of the Constituent Assembly, there were several eminent persons like Minu Masani, Hansal Mehta and B.R. Ambedkar who advocated for a uniform civil code. But due to lot of oppositions from the religious fundamentalists and lack of awareness among citizens, this particular uniform civil code could not be implemented. Rather, it has been kept under Part 4, Article 44 of the Constitution of India as a directive principles of state policy. As you must be knowing that directive principles of state policy or DPSP are those part of our constitution which shall be kept in mind while making laws. So, Article 44 has been kept under the Part 4 DPSP of the Constitution of India. So, this was done in 1948 while the constitution was making. Then in 1954, there was a passage of Special Marriage Act which provided for the permission of civil marriages among the different religious people. Means if a person is belonging to Hindu religion and then if he want to marry a person from any other religion, then those marriage provisions will be governed under the Special Marriage Act 1954. Then in 1956, Hindu Code Bill was passed, which have divided the personal laws in common Indian citizen laws and Muslim laws. What does it mean? Under the common Indian citizens, this Hindu Code Bill was applicable to people belonging to Hindu community, Sikh community and some other communities, and there was separate personal laws for the Muslim communities. After that, in 1986, a significant development happened. In 1985, there was a woman belonging to Indore, and the name of that woman was Shah Banu. She went to Supreme Court for upholding her rights regarding the maintenance after the divorce, and Supreme Court has upheld her right of maintenance after the divorce, and this this happened in 1985, but Rajiv Gandhi government in 1986 overturned this particular judgment through an act of the parliament. This showed that government is still not very sure about the implementation of Uniform Civil Code in India. Then in 2003, the President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, supported the implementation of Uniform Civil Code in India. In 2015, Supreme Court again said that there is need for Uniform Civil Code to address the various issues that are there related to the personal laws of different religion. Now, I want to ask a question to you people. You comment your answers in the comment box that which is one of the state which was the first to implement the Uniform Civil Code in India. Okay, you comment your answers in the comment box. So, let's try to look into some other basic detail that before the 1947, was there any kind of notion about the Uniform Civil Code? In 1840, there was a Lex Loci report which says that there is importance of necessity of uniformity in the codification of Indian laws, particularly related to the crimes, evidence and the contract. But it opposed the uniform laws for the personal matters. Okay, means matters related to the marriage, adoption, inheritance, etc. And this particular notion that this Lex Loci report has emphasized is obviously being followed in India. Okay, the IPC, CRPC that are there, various provisions related to crime, evidence and the Indian Contract Act is there. All that applies to every person situated in India irrespective of religion to which they belong. Okay, but there is no Uniform Civil Code because there are different personal laws for the different religions. Then in 1859, there was a Queen's Proclamation which promised that there will be absolute non-interference in the religious matters. I also want to draw your attention that after the 1857 revolt, that time colonial government of British have saw that there was a unity between the different religions of the India, and from there they thought of this divide and rule policy, and one of the facets of that was the Queen's Proclamation, which said that there will be absolute non-interference in the religious matter. There were a lot of social reasons for the revolt of 1857, like the abolition of Sati Pratha, the promotion of widow remarriages. So it showed that there is undue interference by the colonial government in the social fabric, in the social sphere of the Indian people. So, and the government of India at that time, the colonial government wanted to afloat this notion that the government is not interested in interfering in the social matters, and especially the matters related to the personal domains of the marriage, inheritance of various religions. So this was some of the apprehensions of the Muslim community that the colonial government might interfere in future and they may bring a law for all the personal matters. So to address that apprehensions, this Queen's 1859 proclamation came. Then after 1947, we have just discussed that some of the eminent personalities in the Constituent Assembly have emphasized that there should be a uniform civil code. Okay, the Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar were some of the eminent persons among who were the advocates of the uniform civil code. But as we have just discussed, due to the oppositions from the religious fundamentalists and lack of awareness among the different religious societies, that uniform civil code could not see the light of the day, and ultimately it has been kept under the part 4 of the Constitution of India under the directive principles of state policy under Article 44 of the Constitution. So let's try to understand various arguments in the favor of Uniform Civil Code. First is it ensures gender equality. So what happened? Some of the personal laws of some religious communities have some inherent bias towards some of the genders like women. There is deliberate attempt of discrimination towards the women. For example, the personal laws related to marriage and maintenance. So there has been an undue favor that are being given to the male people, and there is an undue discrimination that are being done to the females. So that leads to an gender inequality and gender discrimination. So experts believe if there will be a uniform civil code, it will lead to an uniform gender equality to the all people of the different religion, to all women of different religion. Then it also ensures the secularism. Under our preamble, one of the aspirations that we have to ensure secularism in Indian society. So if we'll have this uniform civil code, we will have a uniform law, we will have a common law for different religions, and there will be no difference on the basis of the religion in the matters related to the marriage, inheritance, etc. So when there will be a common law, it will foster a secular and inclusive society. Then it will also ensure the legal simplicity, because at this point of time, lot of matters related to the marriage, inheritance, maintenance, etc. go on into different courts, and that leads to lot of litigation, that leads to overburdening of the judiciary. So if there will be a uniform law, it will make our judicial process more efficient, and it will help in reducing the burden on the judiciary. Then it will also ensure the social justice. How? Because it will ensure that there is equal legal treatment to all the people belonging to different religions. There will be no discrimination to any woman or men belonging to different religion. So that will ensure the social justice. There is justice among different people belonging to different religions. And it will also eliminate the potential for the discrimination, as we have just discussed. Then next is that it will also help in fostering the unity in India. It will also ensure that there is an integrated India, because there will be a uniform law for 28 states and different union territories that are there in place. When there will be a uniform laws, irrespective of the states, irrespective of the union territories, it will help in ensuring that more unity and integrity is fostered among the different states, among the different religions of the India. Then it is an also sign of modern progressive nation, because it will help the society move forward based on some rational laws, based on some rationality, rather than making laws, keeping laws based on some religious text. Because when there will be rationality in the making of laws, it will ensure that there is no gender discrimination, there is equal treatment for all the sections of the society. And it will also help in reducing the vote bank politics. At this point of time, one of the issues that our society, our democracy faces is that there is lot of politics based on the religion, where there is unnecessary news that is spread that your religion is in danger. So whenever the talks of uniform civil code do comes, these people who are mainly interested in gaining some political positions, then further spread this fear that our religion is danger when our personal laws will be repealed and there will be a uniform civil code. So to address this issue of vote bank politics, also this uniform civil code will help further. So moving forward, let's try to understand what are the various challenges in implementation of uniform civil code. The first is the experts believe that it is infringement on the religious freedom. Under part 3rd of our constitution, the fundamental rights are provided. Article 25, which provides for the right to profess, propagate our religion, which we can say right of religion is provided under the Article 25 of the Constitution. So experts believe in that right of religion, it is inherent that there can be right related to our personal laws. So if we'll make a uniform civil code, so experts believe that will lead to infringement on the religious freedom. Okay. Then it is also against the cultural diversity of India. There are different religion in the Indian society, there are different people in Indian society. Some are less integrated, some are more integrated. Okay. So some of them are not that rational at this point of time. They are deriving their values from traditional texts. And if we'll give a uniform civil code, so that might hinder, that might lead to various issues in maintaining our cultural diversity. Then it can also lead to social disruption. What does it mean? It can lead to various chaos in the society. It can also lead to riots, etc. So the social fabric, the various diversity that is there in India, that can be hampered, that can be disturbed if Uniform Civil Code is not implemented properly. Some experts believe this thing, that can also lead to social disruption. Then the complexity is there in the implementation. At this point of time, there are different personal laws for the different religion. To consolidate that, to codify that, requires a very exhaustive practice of drafting, codifying and harmonizing, rationalizing that personal laws, and that is very complex process, and that is one of the reasons that it is very difficult, some experts believe, to implement this Uniform Civil Code. Then the lack of political will, because this issue is very sensitive and people don't want to take that risk that they will lose their vote bank after the implementation of Uniform Civil Code because of the sensitiveness of this particular topic. So that also leads to a lot of challenges in the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. Then there is lot of misinformation about Uniform Civil Code, whereas it is said that one major religion will overtake all the religions of the India, which is a completely misinformation, which is not true, because everyone be treated equally. No religion is given any undue favor or advantages. So this misinformation that is being spread into the different section of the society, this lack of awareness is also one of the major challenges in the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. Then some sections of the minorities, as we have just discussed, think that this is only a way of imposing majority views on them, and this is against their right, this is against their freedom, this is against their cultural fabric. So these are some of the challenges in the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. Now let's try to look into important cases of that are related to the Uniform Civil Code. First is the Shah Banu Begum versus Muhammad Ahmad Khan, 1985. We had a brief discussion on this particular case in our initial slides. Under this particular case, a woman belonging to the Indore district of Madhya Pradesh, she went to the Supreme Court and she demanded her right of maintenance, okay, from her husband. So Supreme Court, it has upheld the right of that Muslim woman to claim the maintenance from her husband under section 125 of Criminal Procedure Code. And they said that the Muslim women have this right even after the expiry of this iddat period. What does this iddat period means? Iddat period is a short period which is a waiting period, or you can say chastity period, which every woman have to go after the divorce or after the death of the husband. So this is a waiting period in which she can't marry any other person. After the completion of this iddat period, she can marry any other person or other things she can do. So Supreme Court says that even if the iddat period has been completed, then even after that, Muslim women have the right to get the maintenance from the husband who has divorced her. Then the Supreme Court further said that a Uniform Civil Code shall be implemented. It will help in removing the various contradictions that are there based on the different ideologies of the different religions, based on the different religious texts of the different religions that create various differences in the personal laws of the different religions. Then there is a case named Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India, 1995. Here, a Hindu husband cannot convert to Islam and marry another woman without dissolving his first marriage. So Supreme Court said that this cannot be done by a Hindu husband, that he hadn't divorced her first marriage, he hadn't divorced her first wife, and now she have converted to Islam, and he had converted to Islam and he cannot marry any other person. And Supreme Court further says that there is need for a Uniform Civil Code because that will help in ensuring that there is no such fraudulent conversions are there, and it will also help in ensuring that the bigamous marriages which are fraudulent in nature can be addressed. Then in Shaira Bano versus Union of India case, which is a recent case in 2017, Supreme Court further declared that the practice of triple talaq as unconstitutional, and it is violative of dignity and equality of the Muslim women. So they have declared this practice of triple talaq as unconstitutional. Further, Supreme Court again emphasized that Parliament should enact a law to regulate Muslim marriages and divorces, particularly related to the discriminatory practices that are there against the Muslim women. So now what needs to be done? How we can make that balance? First of all, there is need for consensus building. Okay, it needs to be done between different religion, the different part of different people belonging to that religion. Okay, whether the religious leaders, then the politicians, NGOs, civil societies, etc. There is need for proper deliberation and cooperation among different parts of our society, different parts of religion. Okay, there is need for discussion among different stakeholders so that a proper law related to uniform civil code can be made and all the apprehensions of everyone can be also addressed. Then it is important that unity is there rather than uniformity. Means there is need to ensure that whenever a uniform civil code is coming, it also respects the cultural diversity of the different people of different religions. It ensures that there is no as such discrimination among different religions, and that is what is the need of our, that all the cultural diversity needs to be accommodated whenever the uniform civil code is coming. Then there is need to strike a balance, whereas we have to eliminate only those practices that do not meet the constitutional standards. Let's suppose the triple talaq practice that was repealed by the Supreme Court of India. That was against the dignity and the equality of the Muslim women. So the some practices which are against our constitutional standards, which are against our fundamental rights, only selectively that practices can be eliminated at this point of time, and after that a uniform civil code can be made for the whole country. Okay, and there is need for a progressive and broad-minded outlook. Okay, and that will help in understanding the spirit of such code, and for this we need to educate people. We need that there is proper awareness generation and sensitization programs are done by the government. Then there is a committee can be formed by some eminent jurists which can come with a proper solution regarding how uniform civil code can be better implemented. So a previous year question related to this particular topic is, discuss the possible factors that inhibit India from enacting for its citizens a uniform civil code as provided for in the directive principles of state policy. This was asked in 2015. You can try to practice this particular question. So our second topic is India and G7. The context of this particular topic is that the Prime Minister of India is going to his first trip abroad in his third term, and that is he is going to attend the G7 summit, the 50th G7 summit that is going to happen in Italy. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, important international institutions. Let's try to understand some basics first. G7 is a bloc of industrialized democracy, and this was formed in year 1975. It consists of various countries like Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom and United States. For a brief period, this G7 had become G8 when Russia was included in 1997. But in 2014, when the Russia has attacked the Crimea, so this Russia was expelled from this grouping, and now again this has become a G7 grouping. Thus, the G7 have an annual meeting to discuss the various important aspects related to the geopolitics, economics, etc. at every year, and these members, they have this meet in their own countries one by one on a rotational basis. Then there are some special invitees, the special people that are invited from different countries to in this year's summit, 50th summit. The Prime Minister of Italy have invited the Prime Minister of India to attend this G7 summit in Italy. So what are the key issues that are going to be discussed, and that are that are the major agendas in this year's G7 summit? So first is that there is focus on the food and energy security. India is one of the highest producers of the food grains, horticulture, etc. Then there is also a very high demand, energy demand is there, whether it is fossil fuels, crude oil, etc. And so that is why India is this particular deliberations, this particular annual meet is going to be very important for India. Then there are also some issues related to the artificial intelligence, that how a broad-based consensus can be made on the issues of artificial intelligence. So that is also one of the important aspects of the discussions, and that is going to be an important factor for India. So what are the opportunities for India whenever we look into the G7? First is that it will help in rebooting our relations with the West, because this is the first foreign trip of our Prime Minister after getting elected in his third term. So it will signify the importance of West, importance of United States for our international relations, for our geopolitical relations. And it will help in strengthening our ties with the West countries, and improved US relations with the improved relation with the United States and the European countries will be there after this particular summit. Then there are various stakes in the G7 collaboration there, because as a regular invitee, it shows our deeper collaboration with the G7 institutions. India is a regular invitee to the G7 in different annual meets that happen, and this year also they have again invited India. That shows the deeper commitment, deeper collaboration that are there between the G7 countries and India. Then it will also show the importance of strong Indian democracy. There has been several apprehensions that has been raised by various US and EU countries regarding the democratic spirit of India, regarding the democratic health of India. But this time in the third term, Prime Minister Modi is running a coalition government. That also shows about the democratic health of India, that addresses the concerns of the Western country regarding the democratic health of India. Then that will also help in ensuring that there is renewed interest in India, particularly the West and strategic and economic interest that are there of the West, because India is one of the largest trading partners of US and various countries in European Union. We have several free trade agreements that are going to be signed in the upcoming years. So that when we'll have a proper meet with the G7 countries, that will help in ensuring that there is more focus on the strategic and economic interest of India. Then it will also help in expanding India's regional influence. Why? Because Italy is focusing on the Africa and Mediterranean countries. And that is some of the regions where India also want to gain some focus. India also want to emphasize, or India also want to deeper the relations with the African and Mediterranean countries. So when Italy's focus will be coinciding with our focus, it will help in deepening our commitments, deepening our relations with African and Mediterranean countries. Then it will also help in strengthening our ties with the global south, because Italy's focus has been on the global south, and India has been an advocate for the rights of the global south, for the recognition of the global south. So that will also help in ensuring that the voice of global south remains strong when India will be attending this G7 summit in Italy this year. But there are some challenges also. First of all, the economic uncertainty. So there has been various uncertainty that are plaguing the various group members of this G7 grouping. There is economic slowdown, income inequality that are there in the various countries of the European Union. Then Italy have a concern of the rising public debt. Okay. Then there are several demographic issues that are being faced by the Japan. So these concerns may hinder the progress that can happen in this G7 deliberations. Then the shadow of Ukraine war. Okay, most of the countries of the West are very much disturbed by this Russia-Ukraine war, and they are very, you can say, disturbed by the India's actions in the Ukraine peace process. Okay, so this also may create an issue where the further halting of the deliberation can happen in the geopolitical issue, and only this particular issue of Russia-Ukraine war may overshadow the overall deliberations of the G7 meeting. Then it will be very difficult for India to manage the competing interest. Okay, let's take example. For example, India have some interest with Russia also, with West also, with EU and everyone, United States that are there, parts of West countries. So India is not completely criticizing Russia against the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, it is only saying that it is against the violence, and it want to focus on more on the deliberations, cooperation among the different countries. So because India have some strategic interest, because whether it is related to the military equipments, various jets, etc., whether it is related to buying of crude oil, okay, whether it is related to various other imports, when there is competing interest between Russia and West, okay, West wants that India reduce their imports from the Russia, but India have their strategic interest. We don't want to deplete our forex reserves, we don't want to widen our trade deficits. That's why we have continued our trades with the Russia. So managing this interest both from the West and the Russia will become very difficult, and that might be a challenge in the G7 deliberations that is going to happen. Then the G7 versus Sino-Russia alliance. At this point of time, there is a growing alliance between China and Russia, and West and especially US have lot of concerns with the rise of China, especially related to this economic rise, okay, and various issues that are there related to artificial intelligence, okay, and various other companies which are related to the IT sector. So this economic hegemony that China is becoming, that is creating tensions in the United States and other countries of the West, and this growing alliance between Russia and China further tensioning the various G7 countries. So that is also a issue that might hinder the deliberations in the G7, and that might hinder the benefits, that might hinder the interest of the India in particularly related to the deliberation that is going to happen in the G7 meet in Italy. Then the divergence among the various Western powers. Okay, there are various internal divisions. Okay, let's suppose whether it is related to the Brexit or coming out of EU, European Union grouping, or within several other issues related to the sovereignty and trade related issues. So there are internal divisions also between the different European Union states, between the various European Union countries. So that might hinder the process of the deliberations. That might become a very important challenge in the deliberation in the G7 meet. So what should be the way forward? The first is that India should focus on the multi-alignment and not alliances. Means India should focus on its strategic and economic interest. Okay. We should not align ourselves to any one of the pole, either it is West, Russia or China. Rather, we should focus on our strategic and economic interest, means where the interest of the people of India can be served, okay, rather than coming into an alliance with any of the countries or any of the groupings of the world. Then we should also focus on the shared concerns, okay. Right now we have just discussed that, for example, Italy and India have some of the shared concerns, okay, whether it is deepening the cooperations and collaboration between African and Mediterranean countries, okay, the issue related to the food and subsidy, etc. So when there will be shared concerns, it will also help in better utilizations of G7 like groupings. So India should focus on the shared concerns between the different countries that are parts of the G7 groupings. Then India should also leverage its soft power, okay, the soft power like yoga, Bollywood, the cultural aspect, the traditional text aspects, all this needs to be leveraged, all these needs to be utilized so that we can better engage with these member states of the G7. Then we should also need to strengthen our economic and military power, okay. We have to focus more on the aspects like Make in India, okay, where our exports get boost and our import dependence gets reduced. And there is also needs to promote the indigenizations of the military equipment so that our imports bill can be reduced, because ultimately this will help in ensuring that we become an economic and military self-dependent country. Next is there is need for developing a clear vision, okay, whether that vision is related to the economic engagement or whether it is related to our stand on Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Hamas condition. We need to have a clear vision, we have to take a proper stand, okay, because India at this point of time, with its economic growth, with its demographic dividend, has a has been placed at a very comfortable position, and we need to utilize that position that we have at this point of time, because that will help in serving the interest of India, the interest of global order, and it will also help in India to become a developed country by 2047. Now, a particular practice question that you people can solve from this particular topic is that evaluate the significance of India's participation in the G7 summit in recent years. How can India leverage its engagement with the G7 to further its strategic and economic interests? Now, our next topic is doubling farmers' income. The context of this particular topic is that recently the new agricultural minister, after taking charge, had emphasized on working towards the doubling farmers' income. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC Prelims Indian Economy and syllabus of your GS Paper 2 Government Policies and Interventions, syllabus of your GS 3 Agricultural Resources. So, let's try to understand some basics first. This doubling farmers' income was a vision of our Prime Minister of India that he have given in 2016 to double the farm income by 2022. Let's try to understand this through the data that how much we have achieved this. In 2015-16, the average monthly income of farm household was 8,059 rupees, whereas we have targeted that we will achieve this to the level of 21,146 by 2022. But we could reach to level of 10,218 in 2018-19 and almost to a level of 12,445 up till 2022. Means we could not achieve that level. This particular data is from the 77th round of NSSO data. If we'll see into this picture, some of the states which have done very good work regarding the increase in the farm's income, some of the top 5 states where farm income are very high are the Meghalaya, Punjab, Haryana, Arunachal and Jammu Kashmir. Whereas the some of states where condition has been very abysmal or where we could not see a drastic increase in the farm's income are Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Now, what are the various issues regarding the doubling farmers' income? First of all, the large chunk of India's farmers are small and marginal farmers. Almost 86% of Indian farmers are small and marginal. So that leads to issues like lack of credit to them. Okay, and mainly they do this farming for their sustenance. Means whatever they are producing for their own consumptions. So that do not help in increasing their income. So first is one of the important reason is the small and marginal farmers, and another the related reason is the land fragmentation. Okay, because when there is lot of small and marginal farmers are there, the average land holding size decreases. Okay, if you'll see into this graph, in 1995-96 the average land holding was 1.41 and you will see it has been consistently declining. Okay, according to some estimates, in 2010-11 the average farm holding or the average size of land holding in hectare is 1.15. When the land holding size is very less, it leads to low mechanizations. The use of various machines like tractors, harvesters, etc. Cannot be done in these small land holding sites. Apart from this, the various investments also gets hindrance whenever we have to do that in a small land holding site, whether it is related to the drip irrigation or some of the advanced practices, we cannot fulfill that things in the small land holding sizes. So this land fragmentation also leads to more of the manual work in these small farm land holdings, and that increases the cost of production, and that also leads to low remuneration or non-remuneration of the farming, and that is also one of the hindrance in the doubling farmers' income. Next is knee-jerk trade and marketing policies. For example, the exports ban on the onions, rice and wheat in the last year. Government did not follow uniform policies regarding the various export bans or the imports of the various food articles from the different parts of the world. So when there is no uniform policies, it also affects the remuneration, it also affects the profitability of the various farmers. Okay, for example, let's suppose there was low production of onion. Okay, and if government would not have banned this exports, that might lead to low supply of onions in the domestic market. Okay, so that may increase the prices of the onions, and that can give a better profit margins to the farmers who are growing the onions. But with this knee-jerk reaction or the knee-jerk policy of the government of India, when they have banned this onion export, now there will be ample amount of onion available in the domestic market. There will be proper supply of onion in the domestic market. That when there will be proper supply and there is no lack of that food article, that is onion, so that will not lead to increase in the onion prices. It will almost lead to a stable onion prices, and that may affect the profitability of the farmers. Then the distorted MSP regime. The MSP regime in India is mainly concerned towards the two of the most grown crops, that is wheat and rice, and the most of the MSP increase is also seen in these two particular crops. So when the government's focus is mainly on these two crops, and for some of the political reasons, okay, these increase in the MSP have seen in these wheat and the rice particularly. And some of the states like Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh are mainly focused on this growing of the wheat and rice, whereas there is very low focus on the crops like pulses, oil seeds, etc. So this creates a over dependence on the wheat and the rice, whereas rest of the countries other than some of the northern countries are not growing wheat and rice. They are more growing pulses, oil seeds or the horticulture crops. So when we do not see a substantial increase in the MSPs of these oil seeds, pulses and horticulture crops, so the farmers who are not growing wheat and rice are suffering, and that is leading to a low income for those farmers. Then the next reason is the poor infrastructure. Okay. The lack of proper irrigation facilities, okay, poor storage facilities, okay, lack of proper transportation facilities, lack of proper cold storage facilities, that leads to more of the post-harvest losses, and that also affects the profitability of farmers. According to the Food Waste Index Report 2021 of UNEP, almost 92,651 crore value of the post-harvest losses India has incurred. That shows the poor condition of the storage facilities and the infrastructure facilities, and this is one of the important reasons for that affect the profitability of the farmers, that affect the income of the farmers. Then other issues like dependence on the monsoon. Almost 64% of India's population is dependent on the agriculture, and in this 64%, 70% is dependent on the monsoon for the rains. So when there is a slight deviation or more deviation in the general trend of the monsoon, it affects the productivity, it affects the harvest, it affects the growth of various crops, and obviously it's affect the remuneration or profitability of the farmers. Then the low productivity. Whatever we are producing at this point of time, the land which we are using, the productivity of crops is very low. You will see in this particular graphs, particularly related to whether it is related to paddy, wheat or other cereals and pulses, our productivity is very low in compared to some of the other countries like Brazil, China and USA. Okay, whenever the productivity is low, obviously we have low harvest, we have low crop production, and it will also leads to lower value of our crops, low profitability, and it affects our income. Then the climate change related issue. There has been erratic rainfall, rising temperature, extreme cases of weather events like droughts, cyclones, etc. That also affects the crop productions. Then the price volatility, that is the fluctuations that are there coupled with the high input cost and this leads to difficulty in planning the inadequate institutional supports. Okay, the price, the same example that we took in the onion. Okay, whenever there is a price volatility, means there will be no fixed mechanism to see the price fluctuation. There is lack of technological use, so this will lead to price volatility. You might have encountered in various newspapers that some of the farmers just throw their crop, just throw their produce, mainly related to the horticulture, on the roads because they do not get the proper value for their crops. Even the input cost that they have given for the growing of that crop, they are not getting that much value. So when there is no proper mechanism to track this price volatility, this also affects the farmer's income and profitability. Then the lack of institutional support, okay, and especially it remains low, very low for the small and marginal farmers, okay, particularly the farmers with 1 acre or less land. They are mainly dependent on the non-institutional credit, okay, the credit that they take from the money lenders, etc. So this also creates a problem that where they gets into a debt trap, and it becomes that completely affects their profitability, and that leads to issues like lower farmers' income and other things. So what are the various government initiatives regarding the doubling farmers' income? Okay, the first is that are mainly focusing on the increasing the core farm income, reducing the input cost, okay, like the fertilizer subsidies, etc., that are being given. Then the increasing output prices, like the MSP hikes that are happening at a regular interval of time. Then additional income opportunity that are there, whether the government is focusing on the allied activities for like dairying, etc. The schemes like Matsya Sampada Yojana, which is focusing on the fisheries sector, that also help in increasing the farmers' income. Then the innovation, whether it is related to the bioethanols, ethanol production, the bioethanol policy of Government of India. Then whether it is related to the installation of solar panels, schemes like PM Kusum, which is focusing on the solar pump installation, that are also help in reducing the input cost of the farmer and increasing the farmer's income. Then the schemes or the initiative related to the increased market accesses and the linkages, okay, where there is freedom to sell the APMC in any of the APMC mandi outside the states, okay. Then the model contract farming law, various initiatives that are being taken to promote the food processing industry and value addition with the schemes like mega food parks, etc. So some of these schemes are also helping the doubling farmers' income. Then the schemes that are helping in reducing risk. For example, income support measure like PM Kisan scheme, which is providing 6,000 yearly to almost every farmer. Then the infrastructure development that is happening through the warehouse and the value chains improvement. Then various insurance scheme like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Then various help that our government is providing during the time of distress like cyclone, droughts, etc. at a regular interval of time. You will see under this PM Fasal Yojana in May 2016, the cropped area was only 23%, which has increased to 30% presently. The soil health card, one of the scheme that government is running, the 14 crore target was initially of the government, and almost 50% target has been achieved. Then under PM Krishi Sinchai Yojana, the targets are increasing and the achievement is also increasing by the government. It is helping in ensuring that more proper irrigation facilities are being provided and less dependence on is there on the monsoon. So what is the way forward? First of all, there is need for improving the crop productivity, and for this we need to have proper technological and extension services we have to use. Here more of HVY, high variety of seeds, better variety of seeds we have to use. We have to use fertilizers properly. We don't have to overuse, we don't have to use in a very less amount, and we have to make proper irrigation facilities where micro irrigation techniques can be followed, because that will help in improving the productivity of the crop. Then we'll also have to more focus on the reduced cost of cultivation, whereas we need to have a proper policy whereas a rational utilization of inputs can happen. For example, there are some of the schemes, whereas some of the centers are there where some of the inputs like harvester etc. are there that can be commonly used by the everyone. So this kind of schemes needs to be promoted throughout the country. Then there is need for increasing cropping intensity. Cropping intensity means the number of crops that are being grown at the same land in a particular year. At this point of time, it is almost 141%. We need to increase this cropping intensity, means the crops like Rabi, Kharif can be grown. In between that, Jaid crops can be also grown. Apart from this, the multi-cropping can be practiced where more than one crop can be grown on the same parcel of land. That will help in increasing the carbon, that cropping intensity, and obviously it will make the farming more remunerative. Then there is need for providing remunerative prices to the farmers. For this, we need to have a proper check on the price volatility. There should not be a knee-jerk policies, rather it should be more broad-based and farmers should be provided pre-hand information. Then there is need for diverting the surplus labor, the disguised employment that are there, towards the other sectors, and there is need for providing more skilling, that these disguised unemployment that is there, that can be diverted towards the food processing industry, that is one of the sunrise sector. These people can be given some skills related to the basic hygiene practices, basic machinery works, etc., and that they can utilize in the food processing industry. Then there is need for reducing the post-harvest losses and the wastages. For this, what we can do, we can develop more better infrastructure, especially cold storage facilities and other things. Then there is need for diversification to the farms, whether it is horticulture, livestock, fisheries and non-farm activities. So there is need for awareness generation, that people shift from, rather than only growing the cereal crops, towards the growing of more of the non-farm activities and other farm activities like fisheries, etc. And there is need for value addition and agro processing. When this will be done, this will help in reducing the post-harvest losses. It will also increase the shelf life of food products. So our next topic is national litigation policy. The context is that with an aim to reduce the burden of pending court cases in which the government is a party, Union Law Minister has approved the national litigation policy. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC Prelims Indian Polity and syllabus of your GS paper 2 functioning of judiciary. So first, let's try to understand the basics of this particular topic. This national litigation policy was brought way back in 2010 by then Law Minister Veerappa Moily. The main aim of this was to ensure that government becomes a more responsible litigant, and this policy will help in preventing, controlling and the reducing litigation. Okay, as per this data of Department of Legal Affairs, only till December 31, 2022, almost cases in tune of 2,85,553 are pending, in which either a central government ministry or department of central government is one of the litigants. Means almost more than 2 crore cases are pending, and in this particular data we have not included those cases where public sector undertakings are also one of the litigants. Some of the ministries like finance, labor, railways, defense and home affairs are those ministries which are one of the highest litigants. But another shocking data is, which has been prepared by the Central Board of Direct Taxes. In more than 30% cases, the appeals are filed mechanically without appreciation on maintainability of the issues involved. That shows the lax attitude of the various government employees. And despite being one of the litigants, government is suffering more, because almost 4,295 cases are those cases which are decided against the department, that is CBDT, and only cases in tune of 1,424 cases that are decided in favor of tax department. And this is the total number of High Court and Supreme Court between financial year 14 and financial year 15. Means there is almost 3 times more cases are going against the department, that is CBDT. Mainly the tax related matters are talked here, and less number of cases are coming in favor of department. That shows that their government is caught in unnecessary litigation. So that's why the law minister has approved this national litigation policy, and some of the main objectives of this policy is to transform government into a efficient and responsible litigant, and to reduce the government litigation in courts, so that court time would be spent in resolving other pending cases, more important cases related to the constitutional matters, related to the other important aspects of the society. And this particular litigation policy will also help in achieving the goal that is of the National Legal Mission. The goal is to reduce the average pendency time frame from 15 years to 3 years. Now, our next topic is European Parliament. The context of this particular topic is that recently the election results of the European Parliament has been announced. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC prelims, current events of national and international importance, and syllabus of your GS paper 2, important international institutions. So, what is this European Parliament? European Parliament consists of only those directly elected members who are elected by the members of the European Union. Means there are almost 27 member states in the EU, that is European Union. Now, the citizens of these countries of the European Union elect their representatives, those represent these EU citizens in this European Parliament. And there are almost 720 seats in the European Parliament, which represent all the 27 states of the European Union. The primary function of this is to negotiate the European Union laws with the member state governments, and it also approves the European Union budgets and vote on the international agreements and enlargement of the bloc. Means whether any other member can be included in this bloc or not, all this is decided by the European Parliament. Now, who can vote in this European Parliament elections? In 21 member states, the people who are aged 18 years or above can vote. But in Belgium and Germany, Austria and Malta, the minimum voting age is 16. Whereas in Greece, people who turned 17 during the election can vote. And in Hungary, only the married individuals can vote regardless of their age. Then how is voting done? In some member states, voter can only choose a closed list that do not allow change of order for the preferred candidates, while in others, they can select individual candidates in a preferential systems. All candidates who are contesting for this European Parliament elections, they must be EU citizens. Okay, so one thing that you can draw from this particular thing is that there is no uniform criteria for the voting in the European Parliament elections, and it differs from the different countries of the European Unions. Now we will look into some prelims snippets. So our first topic is UNSC, that is United Nations Security Council, which is one of the 6 main organs of the United Nations, and it is tasked with ensuring the international and peace and security in the world. Okay, this UN Security Council have 5 permanent members named United States, China, United Kingdom, Russia and France, and one special power they have is the veto power, whereas they can veto any of the decisions that are being taken by the one member or more than one members in the UNSC Council. Means if one member have vetoed any decision, that decision cannot be implemented. Apart from 5 permanent members, there are 10 non-permanent members, where each year the General Assembly of the United Nations elect 5 non-permanent members for a tenure of 2 years, and the 10 non-permanent seats are distributed on a regional basis. Means various regions of the world, Africa, Asia, Latin America, Caribbean, Western Europe and Eastern Europe are represented in this non-permanent membership. Now, next topic is Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary. The context is that recently MP government has completed its preparation regarding the second home of reintroduction of cheetah. The first was Kuno National Park, and this Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary is the second home of the cheetahs. Okay, it is located on the northern border of Mandsaur and Neemuch district in the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and this sanctuary also shares borders with the Rajasthan, and it comprises of vast open landscape with sparse vegetation and rocky terrain, and there are small patches of dense forest in this wildlife sanctuary. The Chambal river is the main river that goes through this Gandhi Sagar wildlife sanctuaries, and it divides this wildlife sanctuaries into 2 parts. The various floras or the tree species are salai, kardhai, dhavda, tendu, palas, etc. And various fauna or the animal species that are there are chinkara, nilgai and sambar that are present in this wildlife sanctuary. Now, next is Malawi. This is more related to the mapping perspective, because recently a plane has crashed in which the vice president of Malawi has been killed. Now, this Malawi is a landlocked country in the southeastern Africa. You can see the location of the Malawi, and there are spectacular highlands and extensive lakes that are there in the Malawi. It occupies a narrow curving strip of long along the East African Rift Valley. Okay, this is East African Rift Valley, somewhere around this, and this Malawi is along this East African Rift Valley. The Lake Nyasa, which is also called as Lake Malawi, occupies almost 1/5 of areas of the country Malawi. Then this Malawi also shares its borders with Mozambique, then Zambia and Tanzania. So Malawi shares its borders with the three countries, that is Mozambique, Zambia and Tanzania. Now, another drug that is there in news, that is donanemab, that is related to the Alzheimer disease. Okay, recently US expert panels have green lighted the FDA approval for this particular drug, donanemab. This drug works by targeting a common hallmark of Alzheimer disease, that is the amyloid plaques that are there, that is present in our brain. So what happens in the Alzheimer's? This beta amyloid, which plays an important role in brain functions for everyone, for a general person. In this particular Alzheimer disease person, the person who is suffering from Alzheimer disease, this beta amyloid turns toxic and it disrupts the connection between different brain cells, and it disrupts the functioning of the brain, and it leads to various cognitive issues like memory loss. And so this donanemab, which has been in news for the past 1 year, where there has been various approvals that are being given one by one, and now this can be used, the Alzheimer disease can be treated by the help of this particular drug. So that was all from my side for the today's. I hope you liked the sessions. Thank you.